Welcome back to another edition of Songs of the Ozarks, a project of the Ozark Studies Institute, an ongoing initiative of the Missouri State University Libraries. My name is Emily Flatness, and today's date is March 28th, 2023, and we are here at the Sauk River Cowboys Church today with Red Letter Edition. Thank you all so much for meeting with me.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for asking.
Of course. I've been a fan of you guys for a long time, so I'm very honored to be speaking with you here today.
We're honored to be here.
And my first question is, are you all from the Ozarks region originally?
Not me, I'm from Los Angeles. Go Dodgers. Edit that.
A banjo player from Los Angeles.
But he's been here quite a while.
I have been here a long time, yeah.
When did you move here, Roger?
1977. Interesting story. I drove into town, long drive, I was all tired and wore out, and I'm running up Glenstone. There was a pizza joint on Glenstone. And on the Shakey's, and on the marquee it said the Dalton Brothers Bluegrass Band. And I thought, well, that's cool. And I went in, and the first person I laid eyes on was this guy right here, playing fiddle and mandolin with that wonderful band. It was a good band.
I should have told him we don't like your kind in this town. Send him back to California, but
He's just no part of nothing.
Was that 1877?
No, that was in 1977. No.
that's right, it was.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Shady.
That
You
is.
guys have known each other a long time.
long time. Yeah, that's right.
This guy over here, he's from the other side of the country.
Really?
I am. I come out of a small town of Nashville, Tennessee,
Wow.
and
A southerner.
I hung around there for 40 years. Life brought me to the Ozarks, so
So you were born in Nashville?
I was.
Wow.
Nashville, Tennessee.
So I'll go ahead and ask you, when did you decide you wanted to be a musician?
Well, Dad said at 13 you need to learn to play.
Wow.
I come from a family of musicians. So at 13 years old, I finally picked it up and took it seriously when I was in my early 20s. So
Wow. So, what instruments did your family play?
mother played the piano, typical from pretty much of all of our brothers here. Mother played the piano in church. Dad played the guitar at Saturday night with the country jams, and I was expected to follow. So
Wow.
I took up the bass, the guitar, finally the fiddle with a mentor in Middle Tennessee, and that's how I got started.
Wow. So, did your family pretty heavily identify with country music, including you?
They did, for the most part. Mom tolerated. Dad was pretty much early countries,
Wow.
and then he got into bluegrass, which led me to bluegrass.
So, how did you make your way to the Ozarks?
Oh, that's a long story. A beautiful wife that led me to the Ozarks. So
Wow.
This is
Well,
Michael Smart, by the way.
Michael Smart, we're very grateful you're here.
thank you.
Now, Roger, were you a first generation musician?
My granddad was a fiddle player.
Really?
Yeah, and he had a great watermelon grower too. By the way, he was the watermelon king of Texas County, Missouri. Like every year,
Wow.
grow these big 70, 80-pound watermelons. Look like little pigs with no legs. And but he'd sit on the porch and chew tobacco and play the fiddle, and it was pretty good stuff.
So, your family was from the Ozarks?
Yeah, my dad's from down around Lynchburg, if
Okay.
you know where that, and mother's from up near Buffalo.
Wow.
Up in there.
So, your blood is Ozarkian.
It's Ozark blood. Yeah, that's right. And my mother's name was Effie Lou, so that's about as Ozark as you can
It
get. I'm pretty
is.
serious. Yeah.
What about you, David?
I am a native of Greene County. I came from a large, my dad's side of the family, he was one of 9 siblings. I have 35 first cousins, and they all played music at my grandma and grandpa's farm, dairy farm, out by Willard. And so it was not uncommon for several of my uncles played music, and several of my cousins, and we'd have a play party, and and they had a big truck garden and all the food, and we had a big spread just about at least once or twice a month out at Grandma and Grandpa's farm. So I learned how to play out there. Most of my uncles played, and my Uncle Jack was a great pedal steel player,
Wow.
and he played in bands around here. He played on the Jubilee, traveled with some of the stars of that day, and my cousin Gary's a great pedal steel player. My Uncle June played bluegrass music,
Wow.
and we'd have a man named Arlie Booker would come with his banjo, and he'd play 5-string, and my Uncle Earl would tune a lot. So I learned how to tune honest from listening to my Uncle Earl tune.
Wow.
But he showed me my first guitar chords, and on an old 55 D18 Martin with the action was so high on it you could slide a bologna sandwich between the strings and the fingerboard. But he was willing to show me how to play those chords, so I wasn't going to cry or anything. So he showed me how to play House of the Rising Sun, and then
Oh, wow.
Uncle June showed me some bluegrass stuff. So
Sounds like country and bluegrass were kind of intertwined in your
I heard a lot of it.
play parties, a term that's not used very
No,
often
people
anymore.
don't know what that means anymore. Yeah, we do play parties, and then grew up with my buddies, and in that group that Roger referred to, the Dalton brothers, Randy
Wow.
Gamble played bass, and Mark Rookstool played the guitar, and Rick Farmer played the 5-string banjo.
Wow.
Really fine banjo player, and he's the one that actually got us involved in playing Jim and Jesse and the Dillards and the Louvin Brothers and all those kind of songs. And that's the group that I was playing in at the Shakey's Pizza Parlor when Roger pulled
Really
into
good
town.
band, really good band.
So you didn't play banjo until you had heard the Dalton brothers?
No, I was a banjo player in California, and so it's kind of like living in the desert a little bit, you know.
Yes.
I was about 18, and I went up to Ventura for something, which was a little north of the town that I lived in, and I was sitting in a park just, noodling around playing the banjo, and this guy walked up, and he said, "You're a banjo player." He said, "Well, you should come by sometime and we'll play some music, it's real casual." And I went over to his house, and he said, "Listen to this." And he put on Jimmy Martin, Good and Country. And it was all over from that point on. I thought, dueling banjos was what bluegrass was. And I got to listen to some Jimmy Martin, that's kind of like shook the ground under my feet, I guess you might say. And so anyway, that was Howard Blevins, and he was a real influence on me. And then I came back and ran into David, and it was a while, but before too awful long, 4 or 5 years, we were playing together, you and I, right?
Yeah, we did play together.
With Radio Flyer and
Late group.
Dudley Murphy, the late Dudley Murphy, one of the all-time great flat pickers and just good guys that
Yes.
you'd ever meet anywhere. And Earl Hess, I think, or Hees, how do you say
Earl
it?
Heese was our first bass player, and then he left after about 6 months, and we got Steve Duty to play bass
Steve
for us
Duty.
then. And that was Radio Flyer. It was Roger and myself and Dudley Murphy and Steve Duty.
Wow.
Great players, great guys.
And I think Roger started another band about 11 or 12 years into that, and we got Ned Luberecki to play for us
Wow.
for about 3.5 or 4 years.
That's fantastic. Are you from the Ozarks originally, Bob?
Yes, originally. Now, I grew up, actually went to school in Fort Scott, Kansas,
Really?
where there was no bluegrass that I knew of. And but I had a relative that played, Lonnie Hoppers, my mom's cousin.
One of the
And,
greatest.
One of the greatest banjo players. I played with Monroe for several years. When I moved back to Missouri and got to play, and I was actually sang with a gospel trio quartet for a while. And because I didn't play anything at the time, I always wanted to play guitar, but I just never did find anybody that could show me anything. So I had my Mel Bay, book that I went by and learned a few chords the wrong way.
Right.
But
Mel could show you.
yeah, when I was 33. I had been playing anything for a while, and Lonnie had kind of retired, moved back to Urbana, and I called him up and said, "Hey, I'd like to learn a few guitar chords." He said, "Come on out." So I went out and started playing guitar. He taught me rhythm guitar. He sent me home with Dale Sled tapes and Lester Flatt tapes. He said, "Now learn that, and that's all I want you to learn."
Wow.
So I studied it pretty hard, the Dale Sled rhythm and Lester Flatt rhythm, and that's just about as far as I ever got. Never got into much lead because Lonnie didn't think you needed a lead guitar player.
No,
If
he
you had a
didn't believe in
fiddle,
that.
mandolin, banjo, you know, the old style traditional bluegrass, that's what the lead instruments were. So,
Oh yeah.
so I concentrated on the rhythm guitar and ended up in his band.
Wow.
Played 13 years and was his lead singer. So we had a good time. Done a lot of traveling and got to meet a lot of people through Lonnie. He was
You're like me, did you ever in your life ever hear Lonnie Hoppers play a note that wasn't pretty?
never. no, no, he's amazing. But
What about you, Max?
I was born in Dade County, Lockwood, Missouri.
Wow. That's deep in the Ozarks.
Yes. Yeah.
So did your family play music?
Well, my cousins always did genealogy, and they said that it was the Rows, not the Kings. They were out in, let's see, what was it? Where's the big pickin'? Out to Lawrence,
Winfield.
Winfield.
Yeah.
They were all from there, and they had about 10 kids in their family, and they all played something and all sung, and so they all told me that if I got any music, that's where I got it from.
So you've played a lot of genres over the years.
I probably played country and rock and roll for 25 years before I discovered bluegrass.
And now you were playing rock and roll, and now you're with a gospel group?
Well, I'm changed my ways.
He got
Haven't
smart in
we
his old
all?
age.
Why do you think bluegrass and gospel music is so prevalent in the Ozarks? You talked a little bit about Kansas. There's not much.
Yeah, I mean, like these guys, I grew up, my mom was a keyboard player for a gospel group, and so I grew up, my sister and I, we had to sing since we were, I think my first performance was 5 years old at a Assembly of God church in Bolivar.
Wow.
Had to stand on the piano so everybody could hear me sing This Little Light of Mine, and then we just sang together all of our life, and of course, that was the music in our family. I wanted to learn the piano, but she didn't have the patience to teach me because it would annoy her too bad when I'd make mistakes. So anyway, I chose a guitar. I thought that was more my instrument of choice. But anyway, yeah, all of our family went to churches. We sang in church and played the piano in church. And the songbooks we have in church now, I've got most of the songs memorized because we've sang them so many years. So I think bluegrass is probably the only music around now that still kind of hits that old time gospel feel.
That's where the vocals came
Where
from.
the vocals, the shape notes.
Monroe wanted that shape note thing with the 4-part harmonies,
Yes.
Right.
3-part harmonies, but not everybody was singing the melody.
Right.
And they'd have call and response tunes, and we do some of that kind of stuff, and it's just a wonderful kind of overlap, I guess, between gospel music and bluegrass, because the way the vocals are laid out is very much the same.
I love the harmony that Bill Monroe, he was a genius to me at coming up with a different type of harmony, kind of a bluesy feel to it. Yeah, it wasn't a traditional harmony part, but he would come up with something that worked really well. Ralph Stanley is the same way. He has that mountain sound to him, so I was always pretty enthralled with that. And Roger, actually, with our band, he's one of the ones that when we break down our acapella stuff, he's the one that shows us where the parts are. He's good at that too. So
He's Mr. Baritone.
he can find the parts. So
Would you mind, you mentioned shape note singing, would you mind describing what that is?
Well, I don't know that, if you don't read shape note music and you have shape note music in front of you, you can still play it.
Wow.
But because all of it, it's got regular staff, bass and treble staffs. But the notes, David probably knows more about it than I do. The shape of the notes indicates something to a person who is a a non-musician that can't read the music off the staff, they would, if they can still sing it by the shape of the note.
It represents, it's kind of a picture, a cross between a picture of regular notation and a representation of the intervals. It's not so much that you're reading notes as you're reading the intervals, so you know how the voices are supposed to move together. As long as you all start in the same key, you know, it's
The cool thing about it
Wow.
is with shape note, you just be in a room somewhere and somebody can throw a note out there and everybody jump on it.
one would
And
know
it
what
might
to
be
do.
E flat, you know, which
Yeah, it doesn't matter what
But
key
it
it's in.
doesn't
as long
matter.
it's all
Wow.
relative to itself. So it's almost like tablature for voice.
Yeah,
Kind
it's sort of a picture tab.
Is this something, you know, in the wide span of history, something that's sort of modern that originated in the United States? Do you know?
You know, I don't, but I know that in the 1920s there was a company called Mull's Convention and they had these little books that looked like Reader's Digest. They were bound that same way. And if you pick one up and open it up, I picked one up one time. I opened it up, and the first page was God Put a Rainbow in the Clouds that Doyle Lawson and those guys did. And then the next page was I Want to Be a Friend to Jesus, which that band from California, you know, I'm talking about, David Parmley and those guys. So every page, on nearly every page, would be some song that Doyle Lawson and Quicksilver or some band that does bluegrass gospel would do. And so shape note music has got a profound influence on bluegrass, certainly bluegrass gospel.
Another question I kind of have. You mentioned play parties. Do you guys remember the tradition of play parties? Was that something that was prevalent in your life as well?
Not
We
in Los
always-
Angeles.
We always called them music parties.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or
Well,
jams.
I do from Tennessee. We used to have weekend parties. And one of my favorite memories is the first full weekend in October. It was called the Haley Picking, in which we would probably have 50 to 75 musicians there for the weekend.
Wow.
There was full service breakfast, country ham, all you could eat. And basically we played from after breakfast until late into the night. We also had one at Dale Hall Lake with some wonderful musicians. So that was pretty common in Tennessee that we would spend the weekend together and just play to our hearts were content.
Fantastic.
Gob's just kind of trying to keep that going around in our parts, which is a great thing.
Doing a great job of it too,
Yeah,
by the way.
we've found so many young musicians, younger than you even, that are just bringing the music to life and keeping it going strong, and
Yes.
it's so fun to see that. I mean, I hope we keep that up.
Well, you're seeing it all over the place. You know, there's a group of young players from Mountain View, Arkansas. We were talking earlier about some of those kids, and they're just wise beyond their years, musically speaking, is the things that they can do. And then in Branson, there's a lady down there that has a school, and I had the privilege of being there and just kind of helping some of these kids, and it was humbling because I'd get playing with some of them and realize that, you know, if there's going to be some knowledge flow one way or the other, it's going to come from them and me rather than the other way around. Some of those young people are just way advanced, and I don't know whether that's certainly it's due to raw talent,
Right.
but I think, you know, they've got some kids today have some resources that we didn't have.
Most definitely.
My brother Michael here is into that, and things that are available for people to learn online or use your phone to slow something down, so you hear a lick you can't figure out, well, you can just go, oh, okay, there it is, you know, slow it down to half speed or whatever.
You know, I remember growing up, whenever I learned to play, that in this part of the country, they had little mini Opry things they do on Friday night or Saturday nights, kind of like what the Oldfield Opry folks do and have been doing for decades. Mooneyham's barn out there started up again, but when I was little, Mooneyham's was a thing, and people went out there on Saturday nights, and they had a lot of different groups out there.
That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
That was like, you know, I think they were just after the Ark.
The water had just subsided.
But my Uncle Jack would play with his group out there, and I remember meeting Roy and Betty Jo Kraft out there, and they were real young. And Betty Jo's like my second mom, and so I met all those folks, and I was little, and I'm old now, so that was a long time ago. And there was a little Opry down in the little community of Battlefield. There was one out at Pleasant View. There was a little thing out there, and so those places, there used to be a lot of them, and they kind of went away, and Mooneyhams, they started that back up again. So they do house concerts now, but that was a thing, little micro mini Opries.
There's an awful lot of jam sessions starting up around the Ozarks too.
Recently?
Just recently, and there'll be like a once a month deal. There's one in Mountain Grove at the schoolhouse there, and it's really cool because it's one of the things that I love about bluegrass, especially music in general, but bluegrass especially, is you'll see this jam session and there'll be some grizzled old dude like me, and sitting next to him will be some 15-year-old kid, and they got their heads together and they're playing Big Mom, and there's no age difference in that at all.
Right.
They're just pals, and I love that about the music. I really do.
There are some jam sessions down at this last weekend down at Harrison, the big fiddle thing that they do down there. Lots and lots of young kids down there.
Wow.
And a lot of great fiddle players. When I was coming up learning the fiddle, there were Art Galbraith and Fred Stone King, and the Johnson brothers, and Lyman Enlow up by Kansas City. And there were just lots of Doc Bones. Is what we always called him. You go to a fiddle contest, he'd scare you to death because it was Doc Bones is here. But,
That is an intimidating name.
But then they started to pass all of them,
Right.
and folks were really concerned that the fiddle music around here was going to die. But there's a lot of youngins coming up. Adam Barton, Joe Majerus. We talked about them just a little bit ago, and
Music's in good.
the music is in good hands, I
Definitely.
think.
We should mention Gobs too. I don't know if we've done that yet or not, but anybody that's interested in this kind of music, bluegrass gospel, Gobs is a great resource. You ought to come. Help me remember which.
First
on-
Friday night every month?
Is it the first or the second Friday?
Oh, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. It's the
Well,
first Friday
You
right
can
here
go
at
to
the event center.
GOBS, Gobs. You can go on their webpage and get all the information, I'm sure.
What does that acronym stand for?
Greater Ozarks Bluegrass Society,
Wow.
I guess.
That's good.
The president is from a family, a bluegrass family, Mr. Mark Withers. His dad and uncle had a festival in Stratford for many years, and I remember going there when I
Russell and Luther.
Russell, just sounded like a couple of bluegrass guys.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I went to their festival in '77, and I wanted to pick with somebody, and there was a little girl there, and she was playing the mandolin, and I sat down and started picking with her, and I was blown away by how incredibly good she was. And it was, say her name. Rhonda Vincent, thank you very much.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sally Mountain Show.
Sally Mountain Show, and she traveled with her parents and her siblings, and they were great.
Michael, you have kind of a different perspective than a lot of us have, because you were into music, in Nashville, and you're also into music here.
I was.
So, what differences do you see as a musician in both of those regions with the culture?
Well, I'm going to answer this in the way that I think life has taught me many lessons. Nashville is very competitive. Typically, when you think of Nashville, you're going to be a star. You're going to play for Garth Brooks. You're going to be the next Mark O'Connor, things of that nature. And many of the Nashville sessions are very political. They're very competitive with one goal in mind. I would say I was wrapped up in that game for a while. But I finally realized what music really meant to me. And I come to the realization I had no desire to make a living playing music.
Wow.
I ended up with a business degree and make a comfortable living. I have a lot of friends that chose differently. And, they had peanut butter and bologna and they've lived a long, hard life. So fortunately, wisdom and the good Lord helped me make the proper decision of what really music means to me. So life in its transitions brought me to the Ozarks, and at this point in life, and I am aging a bit, but music is about good music, but music is more about fellowship and friends and presenting the gospel when you have the opportunity. It's not about being the next big star. So I think two things. One, my age, and I want to call it wisdom, and the fact that I'm now in the Ozarks versus the Gulch or downtown in Nashville has taught me to enjoy music,
Wow.
to have a wonderful time, spread the gospel when you can, and ride around with guys like these. That's what life is about. So
Is gospel music nearly as prevalent in the Nashville?
it is, but it's commercialized. If you go outside of the region, if you go 100 miles, then there's individuals that's actually presenting the gospel through music. But unfortunately, in the Nashville area, I go back to that competitive nature. It's about being competitive and being on top of the game.
Yeah.
So,
And Max, you were in the Branson scene for quite a while.
Yeah,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I got to do a TV show with Stan Hitchcock, and I played with Hee Haw at their theater. Had a lot of fun in Branson.
And if you guys want to hear more about what you viewers out there on YouTube, if you want to hear a little bit more about Max in a different avenue, he's also in an interview with Travis Scott.
And
that
my
we just did.
grandson.
Yeah, and your grandson Jacob. So, a couple of generations of kings. So,
Couple of great musicians.
Yeah,
yes,
Jacob's amazing.
he is amazing. Tell me a little bit about, is there a difference between playing in the Ozarks outside of Branson versus playing, in that Branson scene?
Oh, yes.
Would you
I
mind
think what
describing?
Michael was talking about, competitive, dog eat dog, that was kind of more Branson. And back when I was doing it, it seems to me like it's a whole lot worse now.
Really? How so?
Well, when I was playing and you played at a theater and you shut down for 2 or 3 months, you had your job back the next year. And now they, do auditions for every band member.
Right. Have you noticed perhaps a change in the type of music that Branson is playing now versus back whenever you played?
Oh yeah, yeah. When I was down there and we played with Stan Hitchcock, we played more progressive, country music,
Mm-hmm.
and most people down there thought that was a mistake.
Really?
And now they tend to do that. And the TV show that's down there now, what is that, Branson, USA?
Branson Country USA.
The music they play is what we were playing in '78.
That was progressive.
Yeah.
Best show on TV, by the way.
It is really
Yeah.
So, How did you all get together as a band?
Well, I can answer that one.
Go ahead.
You and Roger and Brian Grimm had been meeting together and talking about forming a gospel group. And Roy and Betty Kraft were mutual friends of all of us. Roy and Betty came to my restaurant about every Saturday or Sunday and tried to get me to come to the Sac River Cowboy Church. And I fought that pretty hard. I thought, I don't want nothing to do with a bunch of cowboys, you know, that ain't church. And finally came because I thought that, you know, I need to get them off my back and say that I did it. And it changed my life. You know, I found a teacher in Scotty Killingsworth and got to play a little music there. And they played bluegrass music at the church, and I love that. And I've learned more from going there than I've ever learned in any church I've ever been in. I've been in a lot of them, and just very comfortable there. Roy said to me one day, he said, Bob, he said, I hadn't been playing music in a while because Lonnie had quit playing, retired. He said, you need to get back into playing music. And he said, I know a guy that you need to be playing with. He said, you need to talk to Roger Matthews. He said, they're looking to form a gospel group. And I said, I know Roger. And I said, he's a fine banjo player. And I said, I will get in touch with him. And we did. We met at Brian's house, and the three of us just kind of put together a few songs and started playing some churches. And what was that, 13 years ago, maybe?
Been quite a while back, yeah.
And the band, of course, has changed personnel some. They've got a little bit bigger. But we do a lot of churches and do some festivals too. We play. Our last CD was half secular and half gospel, but we love the gospel. That's what we like to do, and we love a cappella.
Tell the story of how we came up with the name.
Oh yeah, we were all trying to think of what the name was going to be, and we just went home and said, let's just bring together some ideas next time we meet. And I couldn't come up with anything. These guys are clever. They had a bunch of good names, like what was that one you come up with?
Greater Ozarks Wire Choir.
Wow.
I just
He just made that one up. But anyway, I was sitting
the
there.
Roger Matthews Experience.
It's still that, by the way. I was sitting in my chair, and I always try to read my Bible with a passage or two every night, and I just looked over and it said on the binding, Red Letter Edition. And I thought, you know, that's a great name for a band. It's the words of Jesus. That's where we're headed with this. So when I brought it to the guys, the conversation was over. That's just it.
There
Just
was
stuck.
no argument.
Wow.
So we just went, wow.
So that's where it
It's a
came
good
from.
one.
It
Yeah.
is incredibly clever.
We have enjoyed the opportunity to use the talents that God gave us to go minister to people. And you know, when you get to play different kinds of churches. You know, we played Baptist, Methodist assemblies, Christian churches. We played them all, and you can tell within 5 minutes if there's any spirit in a church. And we have found the neatest friends, and people still stop me. I'm sure they do you guys too. When I'll go to Sam's or Walmart, somebody will come to me and say, oh, I love to hear you sing at church. I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
Wow.
But they recognize us, so we touch people, and that's what it's all about. And, you know, most of the people we play for, you assume are Christian people, but there's always going to be somebody that's not, and you know, there's going to be a young person there that's kind of like we were at one point, searching for Christ, you know, and waiting for that knock on the door. We just hope that maybe something in the lyrics encourages them to look into that a little deeper. That's our goal now. We still love to play bluegrass, don't get me wrong, but we love the gospel. That's the main part of our band.
Before I have you all play some, which I had promised you at the beginning, and then I just started talking. You and Max both live in Dade County, right?
We do.
Dadeville, Missouri.
Both in Dadeville.
And your restaurant's in Dadeville, right?
We own a restaurant in Dadeville, yep. And Max has been a math teacher in Dadeville for 48
years.
48 years.
And
Started
there's
when
a
he was 10.
lot of music in Dadeville.
A lot of
Why
great
do you think that
musicians.
is?
You know, I've wondered that myself. There's a lot of great talent.
I
there.
don't know.
Yeah,
We had a bunch of kids, you know, that I started playing rock and roll, and one of them had relatives that played Ray Price shuffles and Western swing, and they put up with us and invited us to music parties.
Wow.
And that's the reason I got a kind of a country background, because I was into rock and roll in high school.
Wow.
Yeah, Danny
And look at
McMaster.
you.
Danny's the one that had
His
all the
dad played
relatives
fiddle,
that
yeah.
played music.
Yep,
Wow.
McMasters. My wife's related to the McMasters. So,
Yeah.
You know, Danny was there, and Mike McKee lives over
Mike
there.
McGee.
Mhm.
great steel player.
And
Great
they're
team.
all related to the Montgomerys
Mhm.
and all of the big music parties in that area.
Yep, Don Montgomery played with the Bluegrass Brigade up around the Kansas City area,
Yeah.
Jim McGreevy and those, and Don was my wife's uncle. And I didn't know that when, we got married, and there's Don at the family reunion, so we had more music than I thought, so.
And it's such a rural community.
It is.
What
Lot of
is
ties.
graduating class now in Dadeville, would you say?
Oh,
Average.
you asked me a question, I haven't been paying attention. Maybe all 15, but we've
Wow.
got some larger 25 kids in K through 6, you know,
Yeah,
so
my son's in 3rd grade, and his class is 21, which
21,
is one of the larger classes.
Hmm.
It's, I think my
Wow.
wife had 11 in her class, and just two of them were girls.
yeah.
So-
I had 12 in my class.
Yeah, Kenyon's class, my son's class, there's, I think, 3 or 4 girls, and the rest of them are boys, so the ratio's a little off, but it's neat to see the school growing like that. It's a
And-
good community.
There's still so many musicians who play in
Oh, yeah.
school bands. I think that's something unique about Dadeville is they've got,
Oh, we had the school bands
Yeah.
and played in the FFA activities.
and it's not band music. It's
Oh, no.
Right.
country and
Yeah.
bluegrass and
Yep.
I love the overlap in the music too. A lot of bluegrass players they play bluegrass and they're crazy about bluegrass, but maybe they're into gospel or maybe they're a music teacher. And a classic example is John True.
Yeah.
He's a fabulous bluegrass player, just a great player, and he's also, written classical music, and I think he's the music director in
At
Bolivar,
Bolivar. Uh-huh.
and just a gifted individual, both as a player and as a teacher.
Speaking of Bolivar, your son is also a teacher at Bolivar,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys have played in a bluegrass band for many, many years.
Kentucky 31.
Kentucky 31. That's where I
when
first
I got
saw
started
you.
in bluegrass.
That's
Larry Smith,
Yeah.
Yep.
is that in that?
Smith, yeah.
yep.
They wanted me to play in that, and I said, I have never played an upright bass. And they said, don't worry, we've got one you can use.
Wow.
Wasn't
Which-
any trouble, was it?
No,
Did you kind of grow up playing gospel music though a little bit?
no,
Really?
no.
So
I played with Roy Kraft at the Ozark Country Jubilee Theater, and he was always into bluegrass, and he was always after me when I was playing country and not wanting to play bluegrass.
Mhm.
He said, you need to be playing bluegrass and singing tenor in a band.
Wow.
And I didn't know what that meant.
See, I knew that.
Yeah. So hence, here you are.
Can I tell my favorite Roy Kraft story? He told me one time, he says, I'm a lot happier with my fiddling now than I used to be. I said, really? And he said, yes. He said, I've lowered my standard.
Yes. Yeah.
Sounds just like it.
And
Yeah.
he was a really funny guy, and I think a lot of people that you hear today, that guy that, there's that new band that's so red hot, Route 3, you know what I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about? They're just tremendous.
Jason
Phenomenal.
Jordan. and his band.
Jason, to me, every once in a while, I can just hear Roy Kraft
Oh,
singing,
he can sing Roy Kraft exactly like him.
just like him,
Oh,
and I think that there's an influence there.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Um,
Roy and Betty influenced a lot of young
Yes,
players,
they
well,
did.
our age, and then on way down to the
I remember
youngest
when I
coming
met
up now.
them, they knew my Uncle Herb
Mhm.
up a little south of Buffalo, and he had a dairy farm there. And he knew that this 16-year-old kid from Los Angeles was tinkering with a banjo. And so he invited them, and they brought their banjo player, was a guy named Tony Beasley. Anybody ever know Tony Beasley? And Tony was really wonderful because he played banjo kind of his own way a little bit, but it was three-finger banjo. It was pretty good. You remember Tony, probably. And I remember how they fussed over me, and they've been doing this way with kids. You too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Made you feel like you were Bill Monroe on that mandolin, or Kenny Baker on the fiddle, and they just really
Very encouraging.
very encouraging people.
I try to be that way now, and I know you guys do too. A young person comes up, boy, I try to like Emily, her voice is amazing, and I
Yeah.
tried to encourage that, and all the other young kids that are coming up and playing and singing. It's important to keep them interested and keep them encouraged, because that encouragement goes a long way plays toward their future.
Yeah, you
It
see that
does.
so much in bluegrass, and I see it in steel guitar
Right.
get-togethers. They're always wanting young people to play because they're scared to death the steel guitar is going to die and fade away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your grandson is doing a lot to carry that baton.
Carry
Yeah.
that.
Jacob's
He is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
inspiring
player.
other people his
Very mature
age.
player. Yeah.
You know, they was talking about all the technology available now to learn YouTube and slowing down the music where it's still in tune. That would help me a lot. I remember Lonnie was telling me a lot of stories when he would learn to play. He said he'd be 14 years old and said they'd have an Earl Scruggs record. They'd scrounge together, and him and Doug Dillard and John Hartford were all buddies, and they'd get together and they'd pick up the needles and try to figure it out, and then he'd put it back down and pick it back up.
Right.
Yeah,
Drop
slow
Try
it.
to
play it.
find the right
Trying to find
place.
what they
Play
were
it,
doing.
play it, you find you a record turntable that had 16
And
and
then
then
with-
thirds.
I've got one better than that. I complained to Dad. I'm fortunate to have my dad still with me at 87,
Wow.
and he's a musician. And I'm like, Dad, if I'd have had all this equipment when I was a kid, I'd be a great musician. He said, Son, we only had the radio. So quit complaining.
Yeah.
Well, I'll
Those
tell
old
you,
days, they would, like 4 or 5 people would get together with a pad of paper and a pencil. And it's you write the first line, you write the second line, you write the third lines, and they would write the words and try to make some kind of notation as to what the melody did.
Wow.
And they'd go to these concerts, and that's the way they'd come away and they'd work those songs up.
I'll tell you the advantage to that though is whenever we would listen to someone on the radio, Lonnie could tell you where they were capoed, what they were playing, just because of the ear
Yeah.
from having to listen to that
Sure.
way and learn it that way all that time.
But you know, that technique and the way they used to do things, that's why, one of the reasons why guys like Ralph Stanley don't sound like guys like Earl Scruggs.
Right.
You know, and no, there's 2 reasons. Number one, Ralph Stanley simply wouldn't do that. You know, he wanted to be his own cat. You know, but you know, you hear this lick, and then you got to walk 5 miles home through the snow, and then and then when you get home, you got to milk the cows and stuff, and then with maybe for 15 minutes before you go to bed, you get to tinker with your banjo,
Right.
try to play that thing you heard at that show 5 hours ago.
I can't
And so it's
imagine.
gonna be your own take.
Do you think because of that musicianship has increased, or perhaps maybe it's not as you don't have to think as much to be a musician, if that makes sense?
I think they're just more powerful than they ever were.
You know, I think something is good is happening.
Oh yeah.
I will say this though, one of the greatest musicians I ever knew in my life told me that he had a mentor when he was a kid, and the guy just he said, man, I just seems like I'm just blowing all these hot licks, and my stuff all sounds the same. And the guy just kind of smiled and said, well, you know, when in doubt, play the melody.
Yeah.
And he said, so he started doing that, and then people would come up and say, man, you got all these wonderful licks. And they'd play the lick that they had in mind, and he would realize that that lick was just him using whatever bag of tricks he had on that instrument to play the melody.
Wow.
It wasn't a lick, it was the melody. That's just the way it rolled out, you know. And so I think a lot of these kids today are using the techniques that are available and you know, to study the music to get this enormous bag of tricks. And so whatever the melody does, they can address it. They've got the tools to play it. And then when they get their second break, they play the same melody and they don't play it the same way.
You bet.
It's an advantage we've never had before.
Oh yeah. There's guys like Kent Coffey, great picker from Arkansas, a good friend of mine, and
He's amazing.
Kent has a different scale that he plays, and I can't explain all that to you, but it's so effective and so unique. And I don't know if he just learned that on his own or if someone taught him that, but most of those guys just kind of came up with their own thing, and then
Yeah.
that's what is being copied now by the young players coming up. So there's no end to it really. Yeah. We're going to see some Mark O'Connors that are just everywhere.
Already are.
Coming
Oh,
out
yeah.
of the Ozarks.
Mary, this girl that you were talking about, what's her last name?
Mary Parker.
Mary Parker. She turned 18 today, I think. Mary, if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think that's from Facebook. And there are just not a lot of people in the country that can bully her around on the fiddle. Not very many,
Isn't that neat?
if anybody at all. And she's a sight better looking than Kenny Baker ever was.
Amen. Well, I think that's everything I have for you guys. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Well, we are grateful for the opportunity to play these old gospel tunes, you know, and Bob writes some stuff, and David has got some wonderful tunes, and you know, we like to come and play in churches. When I kid people, I say, you know, we play for fried chicken, but that's never been the case. You know, we go and play a lot of these churches, and the arrangement is always we don't worry about it.
Mm.
And we just show up and play and just not worry about it. And we
But
do
fried chicken's good.
yeah.
It's good.
Obviously.
I have learned some interesting things though about like the difference between the Baptists and the Methodists is very important. You know, a lot of people think you got to have a THD to figure that out, but what it boils down to is the Methodists use Crisco and the Baptists use lard when they fry their
Really?
chickens.
Wow.
Makes all the difference in the
The
world.
Baptists sit in the back row. David can speak to this. He's an old Baptist.
Yeah.
We sit in the back row because we're closer to the buffet line.
Yeah.
You get some of that macaroni and cheese with the crumbly stuff on top.
You learn those tricks when you're hungry.
That's right. That's it.
Yeah, anybody that ever needs a band to play at their church, I'd sure love them to give us a call. We'd love to do it. So that's what we enjoy doing right now. So
Well, would you mind showing us
sure.
a little bit of what you do?
Play.
Do a little get in line. That's an old
Did we
standard.
record that already?
Listen to the singers, don't you wanna go? For some days coming back again, you know. If that wrong ain't right, if you be lost in sin, get in line, brother, he will take you in. Get in line, brother, if you wanna go home. Get on your knees and right that wrong. Then you will be singing this old time song. Get in line, brother, if you wanna go home. Oh, listen to me, Satan, I have righted that wrong. Got a one-way ticket and I'm going home. I've got no worries as I sing this song. Get in line, brother, if you wanna go home. Get in line, brother, if you wanna go home. Get on your knees and righten that wrong. Then you'll be singing this old time song. Get in line, brother, if you wanna go home. If I could tell you, brother, just how I feel, then I'm sure you know the love of God is real. Then you'll be praying while I sing this song. Get in line, brother, if you wanna go home. Get in line, brother, if you wanna go home. Get on your knees and right that wrong. Then you'll be singing this old time song. Get in line, brother, if you wanna go home. Get in line, brother, if you wanna go home.
Thank you.
One woman audience.
We have a lot of fun playing.
That was fantastic.
You want to
Thank
do
you.
another tune, maybe?
Oh yeah, I would love that.
She's doing acapella.
Acapulco number?
You wanna?
Wanna do Furlough Danny?
Yeah.
I'd love to. I've got my fiddle break.
It's just
for
one of
it,
those
so
that's in F sharp and it doesn't matter because it's acapella.
Just don't play another F sharp at the end.
F sharp and G sharp.
Wow.
Life
Life is short, oh brother, how long will you wait? Jesus Christ has beckoned you to enter through the gates. Lay down your heavy burdens and choose who you will serve. If he hadn't shed his blood for us, we'd get what we deserve. So I'm gonna pray like Daniel prayed, preach like Brother Paul. I'm gonna walk the narrow way and answer to his call. I'm gonna fight the battle till the victory is won.
Go to be with Jesus.
When my work on earth is done, I pray my friends and loved ones will choose to be set free and know without a doubt where we will spend eternity. The evil in this world leaves so many souls astray, but put your trust in Jesus, for he's the only way. I'm gonna pray like Daniel prayed, preach like Brother Paul. I'm gonna walk the narrow way and answer to his call. I'm gonna fight the battle till the victory is won. I'm gonna
Go to be with Jesus.
when my work on earth is done. I'm gonna pray like Daniel prayed, preach like Brother Paul. I'm gonna walk the narrow way and answer to his call. I'm gonna fight the battle till the victory is won. I'm gonna
Go to be with Jesus.
when my work on earth is done. I'm gonna
Go to be with Jesus.
when my work on earth is done. Work on earth is
Work on earth is
Work on earth is done.
Woo! Man, that was
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
What kind of influence do you guys in your four-part harmonies?
Well, you know,
From church, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that we do is, I mean, that one's not, but a lot of stuff we do is when the roll is called up yonder and I'll fly away and you know, and some stuff that, you know, Bob's written a couple of really wonderful tunes and
that was one of them.
that was one of them.
That was one. I was just the last guy showed up and they said, "You're singing bass."
Well, that
There's
was
no one else here.
phenomenal, Michael. I'm impressed.
Michael never sang bass before. We said, yeah, you're a bass singer.
Okay.
Now we got David. We got started learning some of his stuff. He's also a great songwriter, great singer.
That's
So,
fantastic. Well, would you guys mind doing one more? I'd love to hear another if I can coax you into it.
Sure.
We only know 2 songs.
Well, we have to learn something, Rose. You want to do Crying in Chapel?
Jazz.
Oh, we can.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic.
Remember how you do that on that second time through, you do that little harmony to his fiddle backup thing. It's got this lick right here, doesn't it?
Okay, be sure to put that in.
All right.
You saw me crying in the chapel. The tears I shed were tears of joy. I know the meaning of content. Now I'm happy with the Lord. Just a plain and simple chapel where humble people go to pray. I pray the Lord that I'll grow stronger as I live from day to day. Now I searched, and I searched, but I couldn't find no way on earth to gain peace of mind. Now I'm happy in the chapel where people all around one accord. You'll search, you'll search, but you'll never find no way on earth to gain peace of mind. Take your troubles to the channel. Get down on your knees and pray, and your burdens will be lifted, and you'll surely find the way. And you'll surely find the way.
Wow. That was beautiful. Well, thank you guys so much for meeting with me. I've had such a great time.
Well,
Thanks for having us.
I
Yeah.
like what you're doing. Keep it up. It's really great work.
Thanks. And thank you all for watching and listening today.
Absolutely.
This has been another edition of Songs of the Ozarks.